Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to No Filter Gen Z. Today we're going to discuss the Student Action Summit that we all just attended and also talk about the future of the conservative movement after we attended such a cool event and seen so many speakers and notable people from the movement. But guys, welcome back to the show. Fadana, we haven't seen her in a while, but she's back for this episode.
Hi.
Yay!
Also joining me today, Elijah and Lydia. Thank you guys for coming. We're going to start out just talking about this event. It's been a week, so we've been able to gather our thoughts a little bit and really think about what we took away from the event. If you guys follow us on Instagram, you see that we've been talking a little bit about what we took away. But I'll just start with Elijah first. Let's just go down each one of us and give, your favorite part of the event.
I would say my favorite part was seeing AJ Richards, a guy that I always looked up to, and I followed him on Instagram for a while, coming from a farming background, hearing him talk about, the meat industry and how, now that RFK is in with us, he's going to make things better. Something I've always cared about, something I grew up thinking, and so that was probably my favorite part.
Yeah, and the cool thing about this is there were so many different opinions and people from different backgrounds, so it wasn't all just one message the whole time. We saw some different perspectives from people. So I liked that. But Fadana, what'd you like the most out of the whole thing?
I just love how everybody had a different perspective. I felt like there were some of those speakers that were a little bit more moderate than they were fully conservative. And you probably know which speaker I'm referring to. However, I felt like everybody's take was amazing in the way that they were able to explain themselves, even though I may personally not have agreed with them because of just some of their views and their values. It just seemed like some of them were not as rooted into God like we are, and that's the thing. There are some people who are conservative and are not Christian. And I feel like in this event, I got to just see it clear as day. But something that stood out to me was the last day was with Daniel Kalinda and the altar call. I've never gone to a political event where they literally had a time to dedicate to Jesus. And we saw hundreds of students in the front giving their lives to Jesus. And I felt like that was pivotal seeing that because it just shows me, okay, now these kids, they have something that they're passionate about. And then they can also be passionate about Jesus too. So that was something that really rocked me and really moved me just seeing that. It felt like I was going to church the last day.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Yeah. My favorite moment was this right here, the picture that is on the screen. We got to see a bunch of people actually worshiping Jesus at a conservative event, which is cool because it's not all political. It's also about, making sure our priorities are in the right order. And I love that Charlie Kirk did that. He was not afraid to still bring worship into this kind of event. So shout out to him for putting on something like that. But Lydia, what's your favorite part of the whole event that we got to experience last weekend?
I would definitely say it was kind of a combination of what you and Fadana had just mentioned, but I really did appreciate just the boldness that people had, not only for talking about the things that they were passionate about as far as within the conservative movement, but also things on the spiritual side. Mm-hmm. And so I really did like that there was more speakers than I thought that would tie that into what they were discussing. For instance, my favorite speaker, honestly, which this didn't necessarily surprise me because I was already very excited to see her, but she is the actress from the Disney Channel show Good Luck Charlie, Leigh-Allen Baker.
Yes.
I thought by far her speech was my favorite because, I truly did note that she gave the most scripture and she prayed over us and she really just spoke life into us, not only politically but spiritually, that we are the generation of hope. And so I loved that she tied that in there, and it was just absolutely wonderful just to see that. But
yeah. She was amazing. She had a great message, and she did a really good job at delivering it too. I thought of all the speakers, she was one of the best at delivering her message and staying on point. So I had to show that little video here of her because shout out to her. She was a great person, but not only during the speech, she was really nice after, when we went to meet her and stuff. For those of you who don't know, there's little meet and greets at this kind of event, and Leigh-Allen Baker was the nicest speaker that we saw, I think.
For sure, I second that. She was very down to earth too.
Yeah, she really cares about us.
Yeah, she does.
All right, so I've been wanting to talk about this event for so long, like this whole week. I've been like, let's do this episode. The main thing that we got to discuss is our takeaways, what we learned from this kind of event. Because Lydia, you mentioned on Instagram when we did those little videos that this was like you liked that they talked about how it was a spiritual battle and not just a physical one of some of the things going on. So we'll start with you. Like, what was your biggest takeaway from a event of this magnitude at a time like we're in right now?
I think, especially with the political climate, as much as, we won last November, all of this, but it's like, I think it really does go to show, especially what was being talked about, that no administration is perfect, and nothing will ever be perfect on this side of heaven. And so, like, we can have as many wins as we want within the political realm, what the Trump administration has been doing, which, let's be honest, like, these past 6, almost 7 months have been absolutely wonderful with him in the White House. But then, like, I think the timing of it, when, the Epstein files and case, like, all came, not crumbling down, but just as far as what was being broadcasted in the news was happening right during this event. And so, I mean, I think that also is a huge spiritual thing in general, just because there's so many layers to the whole Epstein case, and just to see, like, we really don't know what's going on the inside. And I was just listening to Michael Knowles the other day, big surprise. But he was talking a lot about how, as far as classified information goes, like, it comes to an extent where we as average American citizens, we don't really have the right to know everything that's classified. And so I think that that's something that we kind of have to take to heart. Not that we put our complete and whole trust in the government, but I think to an extent we have to accept the fact that we're not in the government. Like, we're not in any presidential administration. So it's like, we do have a right to know as far as justice being done and seeing that play out. But I feel like as far as this nitty gritty stuff, like, we really don't have a full right to know. And I think I don't know, just seeing the speakers and how their different takes, and them recognizing that kind of how also the left, they take any little thing that seems to go south and they, push it against us, so to speak. And then I don't know if you guys just saw what Tulsi Gabbard just released about Obama being involved in the Russia hoax.
Yeah, it's a big story.
And so it's like, you don't hear that talked about in the media, but then you hear everything else talked about that we're supposedly doing wrong on our side. So I think it's just very interesting to pay attention to that kind of dialogue and just be able to point out what is truly going on in the darkness that is trying to come, but that we can, see the double standard as well and be aware for sure.
Yeah, and it was really good. I actually liked that happened at the same time as this event, the Epstein stuff, because it showed everyone that the movement that we're a part of, this next generation of Americans that attended this kind of thing, we don't worship the government or a leader. We worship Jesus. So no matter what came out of that, we were still on point and like making sure the speakers knew that, and they made sure we knew that. It was really cool that we could come together, even if some people have different opinions on, we can still talk and have dialogue, like you just said, Lydia, because sometimes everything is like a hate versus hate thing. But this thing showed, like, even with the Israel and Palestine stuff, some people, or Iran, some people were like in favor of it, some weren't, but they were still able to have speakers on both sides and talk about things without being violent and stuff. So that was really cool. Fadana.
Yeah.
I feel like after hearing all the speakers, I know back in November, we were super active in making sure that Donald Trump was president, and just us doing Gen Z episode weekly, just getting the message across. And I feel like it's just like in life, you set a goal and then you accomplish that goal. And then it's like, okay, what else is out there? What else is there for me to do? And I feel like ultimately it's like the work doesn't stop, because we are currently at war. It's good versus evil. And I feel like as kingdom people, as Christians, it's our job to make sure that we're going to these different areas of influence that God is calling us to, and to basically bring a lot of people into God's kingdom. Whether, I feel like all of us here, we have some kind of political calling that he's calling us to. And sometimes we can just be like, well, we've already attained the goal. Like, it's good, you know, but like, that's not how Satan works, because Satan will always come up with some different method or different tactic and stuff. And I feel like that's something the speakers were emphasizing to us Americans, is to also make sure we're 2 steps ahead. Because for the longest, I feel like Americans, especially conservatives, we were always 2 steps behind.
Yeah.
Until 2024, we realized, oh my gosh, Satan is really taking a lot of territory, not just in the United States, but also in other countries too. And I felt like 2024 or maybe early 2021 was kind of like a great awakening for a lot of Americans to wake up. And it's great that a lot of us, you know, have waken up from our slumber, but now it's like we can rejoice in victory, but we also got to keep fighting to have victory intact, or else it's just going to slip away.
Yeah, that's good. Elijah?
I would say I just loved the fact that everyone had something different to say. Like, obviously, you know, everyone wanted to talk about the Epstein files and this and that. But more than that, like, we're not this brainwashed group of people who have the same pickup lines for what people want to hear, what they think people want to hear.
We think critically. We're gonna disagree sometimes.
And we all have different priorities.
Right.
Where someone is going to, like me, who's going to prioritize America's health and farming and all that. You know, you'll have someone like Tucker Carlson, per se, who has different views, and, you know, he thinks the Epstein files are just like, we got to stop caring so much about that. We got to start focusing on what's happening in the now. You know, you got the housing crisis, you got, you know, the economy that we were left with from the previous administration, and he thinks that's more important. And then you'll have someone, I don't know, like Charlie Kirk, who maybe is a little more into the Epstein files than some other people, and, you know, because he wants justice for what happened or whatnot, you know? So everyone has a different, you know, priority, and that's the beautiful thing of our party and our movement, is that everyone thinks differently. We're not brainwashed. We don't read the same headlines and take offense on what's going on. We think rationally, and we use our own brains to figure out what's important.
Yeah, it seems like we're all agreeing on that like the First Amendment and freedom of speech is something, even in this party, is something that we really like to prioritize as Gen Z. We like to see you can have dialogue, you know, you can have disagreements, but still want the same mission and same purpose going forward. So I love that. I'll just give you my quick thought real quick. Main thing is that it's not over. You know, this is just the beginning, like Fadana mentioned, that we have to keep fighting. We have to keep going, because just like you said, when you're caught off guard for 1 second is when the enemy comes straight back in and takes away or tries to take away what God is doing. So we have to keep our guard up and keep our shield up, because that's what it is, a spiritual battle. So it's going to keep happening and happening and happening until either we overcome it or it overcomes us. So as Gen Z, like, we want our future to be good for not just us, but our kids too, you know? So it's going to be a continuous journey fighting for what's right. And this whole event showed a lot of, I think it showed a lot of people that were watching, because there was like live streams and all the news networks that showed them that we are coming and showing up because we care about the future too.
Yeah, that's so good. And I will just,
Exactly.
I would love to point out the fact that, and this again goes back to the Epstein thing, but there was, you know, between 7,000 to 8,000 people our age at that event this weekend. And because of, I guess, how many people wanted, you know, justice to be brought with the Epstein files and everything, that, you know, from the higher ups, there had been phone calls that had been made to, you know, be a little more transparent about what's happening, because Benny Johnson like tweeted it out like the next day, and it was like, wow, like, we really can make an impact, you know. And it doesn't even matter necessarily size, but it's just the message that we're putting across and that we want to see change. And I think I appreciate that now more and more. I think administrations, I hope from now moving forward will truly pay attention to our generation, because we are the generation of now. We're not the
Yeah.
generation of later on. We're the ones that are rising up right now. And so I think it's really important to note that, like, we can make a difference and an impact if we
Right
use
now.
our voice and if we speak, with boldness. So
And we literally saw it happen during the event with the Epstein stuff, is that, President Trump was saying, like, we need to move on, who cares? And then 7,000, 8,000 Americans at this event are saying, wait, hold on, we actually want to know. And now they're starting to try to release things in court. So look, we do have a powerful voice, and when we come together, it's even stronger. So that's
Yeah.
really
And
what
it
the
just
event showed
makes
us.
you realize too that the American people basically get to dictate the
Yes.
direction of where
yeah.
our country is going, because yes, President Donald Trump could say, let's just move on and stuff like that. But then the American people had to remind him that you work for us. It's not the other
Exactly.
way around. So it's just like keeping the checks and balances in place, because sometimes when you have that much power and that much authority, it can get to your head where you can start saying, well, let's just go this direction and all that. But at the same time, you do need the input of other people, because these were the people that put you in office in the first place.
Yep.
And these were promises that you made them. And I also think, too, the American people care about accountability and transparency, because these are kids that were trafficked. These were kids that were abused by monsters. And these monsters needs to be held accountable. And this is not something that we're just going to sweep under the rug and today's a new day. No, we definitely have to make sure that these people are held accountable. And that's what the American people made sure they did to keep Donald Trump in check.
Yeah, and people will think, like, the other side, the left, will think that we just worship Trump and, like, we follow everything he says and does. Well, this showed everybody that no, that's not true. Actually, that we actually we value this even differently than him, and we're gonna, like you said, put him to work as our president, as the government works for us. So that's a great point.
Right.
I want to show you guys something that Charlie Kirk put out. I'm going to put it on the screen about the event, and we're just going to break it down and talk about it. So here we go. This was just a few days ago. Yesterday, actually. He says that Turning Point hosted over 7,000, mostly students, last weekend. And the major takeaways: young conservatives overwhelmingly approve of the Trump administration, 95% in a survey. This was a survey people filled out after the event. And they want J.D. Vance to be their next president, 68%. So that's what the main takeaways were from his survey. But let's go down the line and just go one by one. 95% approve of the Trump administration so far. Elijah, what are your thoughts?
I think we got what we wanted. I mean, he's very straightforward and very honest with what he wanted to do, what his plans were, and he's getting it done. I mean, look at the first day, the amount of executive orders that man signed. It's crazy. I mean, and it's all what we asked for. Every single thing. All these liberals, they see, the Epstein files, or he doesn't want to release the Epstein files, and they're like, oh, so now you're mad at him, so you regret your decision. I'm like, heck no, I don't.
No,
This
look
is
at
exactly
all
what
the
I
other
asked
issues.
for.
Look at the border
The
right now.
one thing I disagree with, and all of a sudden I have to hate him or something. It's insane.
Yeah.
Like, he's doing a great job.
We thought they think we want Kamala and said, oh, you regret your vote. Yeah, are you serious? No
because
way in
95% of the issues have been worked on. Just because one of them is we want it to come to light, but it hasn't yet, doesn't mean everything else is discredited. Like, look at illegal border crossings in June, zero.
Mm-hmm. And it's been less than a year. It hasn't even
6 months
a year yet. And it just shows you, okay, like, what was the previous administration doing? Were they just like having slumber parties?
Twiddling
all the
their
time?
thumbs.
Yeah, it didn't make any sense for one man to go in there. And it's been like, we're in the 7th month now, for him to have been able to accomplish all of these things. And it just shows you that, like, there is our side, the conservative side, there's a lot of hard workers, and we're not slothful.
Yeah.
We get things done, and I think that's what make our party just amazing, like you guys have already expressed, is that we may not agree on everything, but at the end of the day, we have our main consensus.
Yeah.
that we all can say yes to, and we all can say that Trump is doing a good job, and it's not a surprise. I mean, from the first 4 years that he had, he pretty much did a lot of the things that he said he was going to do. So
Yeah,
that wasn't going
promises.
to be any surprise because he's a man of his word. If he says he's going to do something, he really is going to do it.
Yeah. And it's about 7 out of 10 people that did the survey want JD Vance as the 2028 candidate. Lydia, what are your thoughts on that?
Hey, I'm all for that. I remember when he was officially announced, RNC, like we were kind of all introduced to JD. Obviously, like, I didn't really know much about him.
Same.
Like, and so I think that was
I didn't know anything about him before that.
Exactly. It wasn't like I was like for or against him. I'm just like, I don't know you. Like, I really don't know you. And then I think I remember this was January, but I remember they did, oh my gosh, it was for, it was a pro-life, like, walk. Was it March for Life?
Probably.
I don't remember. But it was in DC, and I remember I saw a picture of JD Vance holding a poster, like, for it. It was either Students for Life. I think it might have been a Students for Life poster. And like, I don't know, like that just left a huge impression on me. Like, I understand like the abortion thing is still relevant for sure. But I guess like seeing that and then like that really like started to shape my view on him like throughout these last couple months. And so like I would be all for him. And I know like honestly the Republican Conservative Party they have a lot of great options as far as
look at the difference between the parties for looking at the future candidates. It's like night and day right now.
Oh my gosh, it's
toasty.
Yeah, I mean there's a lot of options. Kristi Noem is even a good candidate. So
I would be for that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and for me, it was the debate with Tim Walz. That when I saw how sharp JD Vance was in that debate, I was like, okay, he could actually make a case for the 2028 election. So, Elijah?
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree. I think he's a super sharp guy. Like, when I first heard his name, I didn't know who he was, but I did my research on him after I found out who he was. And, I mean, he was a Marine. He served our country, and to be honest with you, that's all I really needed to see. He seems like a good guy. He knows what it is to fight for this country. So having someone like that lead your country, that is super strong, super symbolic to me. And super sharp guy, like you said, in his debates and stuff. He knows his stuff.
Yeah.
And he's no crap. Like, he doesn't handle nothing. I mean, look at that one interview with what's his name from Ukraine.
Zelensky.
Yeah, Zelensky. Yeah, see what happened there.
Yeah, I just love that we have a lot of options and a lot of strong names right now. So hopefully it stays like that. It's pretty far down the line. We still got a lot of years till then. But another thing on this list, 91% of students from this event support the One Big Beautiful Bill. So I thought that was pretty notable. Like that's a high percentage because we saw a lot of debate on that before it was signed. A lot of people were like iffy because of the spending. But apparently students thought that the things in the bill were the best for our future. So, Fadana, do you have any input on that one?
I haven't personally read all that was in the Big Beautiful Bill, but I have seen some short notes on Twitter of just things that he was implementing in it and all of that. Trump is a businessman, and he's a very successful businessman. And as a businessman or as a businesswoman, you got to be able to kind of see what's going to come, later down, in the future and stuff like that. So I feel like Trump has grandkids, so he wouldn't just implement something or try to have something pass if he wasn't also thinking about the future of his kids and also the future of America, because he's definitely pro-America all the way, so I don't think he would personally have ill intention to want to pass something that's going to put us in a worse state.
Let me tell you one thing that we probably all love about this bill is that it defunded federal funding for abortions for Planned Parenthood for a year. So full year with no funding
no tax on tip too.
And no tax on tips, Social Security, and overtime.
Good, for those who are retired, because imagine you're retired and you have your Social Security and you're being taxed.
Yeah, you're already taxed on it when you put it in. So then, and then again when you're taking it out, so it's dumb. But apparently, students all were pretty in favor of this. We got a lot more, so we're just gonna skip over a few of them. But let's go to the last thing he said, which is that most students, like there was a section where you could say what you think we should continue working on for the Trump administration, and most students said, almost every respondent said something about lower costs, affordability, and being able to buy a home. So a lot of economic things that are still issues that we need to work on. So Lydia, do you think that do you agree with most students on that?
Yeah, absolutely. Again, I forget who had mentioned it, but someone here had mentioned Tucker Carlson making a statement of how that is
Yes.
so important to our generation, just the younger, even millennials too. Like I would put them in that box too, because they are people that are buying homes or renting and things like that. And so, I mean, I definitely look into the future, in the next several years, not anytime soon, but eventually when I start a family or things like that, that definitely would be something important to me as far as affordability, like just having an economy that is allowing me to, be able to live, like truly live, because it was so hard, I know, for so many the last 4 years for people that were, struggling to make ends meet that way, not just literally on the home front, but as far as like gas and things like that. So I think having this particular, these expenses to be I better catered towards us, I think will help immensely. And we'll see that definitely pay off in the next months to, years from now, for
You know
sure.
what it tells me? That this generation of conservatives are done with the identity stuff and pushing policy that just makes things actually more discriminated against, instead of just putting it out there, making the economy better for everybody, doing things
Yes.
that are logical and like that will benefit you practically. And I think that's what our generation is starting to focus on even more, which is great.
Exactly.
All right, guys. So a few more minutes left, but I want to go one by one with you and ask, who was your favorite speaker from the entire event? We'll start with Elijah.
Well, if it wasn't obvious already, AJ Richards.
Yeah. That was the farmer guy, right? With the cowboy hat?
Yeah. He does a lot of like homesteading stuff. He's a rancher, someone that I've been following for quite a while before he blew up. So just really cool to see him there.
Yeah, Lydia.
Gosh, I don't know if I can pick just one. Lee Allen Baker was top for me if that wasn't already obvious enough. Michael Knowles for obvious reasons. Brett Cooper, Riley Gaines. I think
so
those
many
were,
good
like,
speakers.
the top. Yeah, no, I think those top.
So which one? Pick one.
Gosh. Probably Lee Allen Baker.
Yeah, it's a
Probably.
good choice. Fidana?
Yeah.
I would definitely say Daniel Kalinda. Just the fact that like he kind of just sealed a beautiful bow in the end to just kind of give all the students that were there just an opportunity. I felt like that was a great way to kind of end, the night, because he's very conservative, but he also realized there is a spiritual lack that is going on in this country, because if the spiritual lack isn't fixed, then we have absolutely nothing else, because that is our foundation. That is what makes America great, is when the spirituality is all the way at the top. So I would definitely say him. And then second, I would say is Lee Allen. Just the fact that she was so sharp. I honestly didn't realize that she had such strong values, and even hearing her story of like how she came here to Florida, moving from Cali, and her story and who she is now. It's very, very inspiring for so many young people who are looking up to someone that's like a mother figure.
Yeah, she was fantastic. And message-wise, she was probably my favorite. But there was one more I got to mention. I think we can all say it was pretty awesome. I'm going to just show you guys a video to explain who else I'm thinking of.
Yep.
Protester comes up.
Big boss energy right there. Catch me outside. How about that?
All the phones going
he
off.
was He's the baddest man on the planet. I swear, that was crazy. That was
In
crazy.
real time was crazy. Like seeing that play out, I was like, "Is this actually happening?" And the guy made it so far up the aisle. I was like, no one stopped him.
But he's like, I bet you won't meet me outside in 13 minutes. That was crazy.
Catch me outside. How about that? He was ready.
Yeah, he was very pro-America. So I love that, what he was doing. But anyways, we all love the event, and I think the future's bright for our generation. A lot of people that are really focused on making this country as great as we can make it. And that picture of everyone just worshiping Jesus shows me that there's still hope for this country and this next generation, because we're not just too far gone. We're not done. Look at this. I mean, this gives me motivation. I think this should be our why, no matter what. Put that first. Yeah. And we're all dedicated to the same mission. So number one thing, we can't stop. This is just the beginning. We got to keep going. And the future looks bright.
And not only that, Camden, but it's not hopeless for Gen Z. We have hope. Seeing all the Gen Z that were there last weekend, I was just so moved because, we constantly hear, oh, look at Gen Z, they're so stupid. They don't know what's going on. All they do, they're on their phone and all that. But I feel like our generation, we're very creative. We know how to get the information that's hidden. We know how to bring it front and centered, and we just want the real stuff, no bluff. And that's what our generation want. And I can definitely say we have hope. Yeah.
Amen. Yeah. And we, if you're watching this and you have common sense and you're a young person in America, you're not alone. There's a whole mission of people, whole group of people that are here. Yeah, look at this right here. Perfect. That think alike. So it's okay. You're not the only one. I know it seems like that on college campuses and on different places. It seems like you're the only one who thinks a certain way, but no, there's a lot of people with common sense, and we're gonna bring it back. Thank you guys. Thanks for bringing Fadana. Thank you for coming back to the No Filter crew for this episode. We love you here, and hopefully we'll get you back on a future one as well.
Yes, it was my pleasure to be here.
All right. Thank you guys, everyone. Click that subscribe button if you're watching this. If you're a young American who loves, fighting for the truth, that's what we're doing here. So click that subscribe button, and we'll see you next time. See you guys.
Bye.